matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but what do you think about preseason?
It sucks.
Does it
It's
count?
useless. It's meaningless. And every year, these idiots in the media. Yes, my fellow media members, they're idiots. They overhype. Oh, they're analyzing. Every time I listen to something on the radio and we're making judgments based on the preseason, I immediately shut it off. And you should all do the same thing. People are idiots.
Well, your mistake was turning it on in the first place.
That's true.
Actually, I'll say.
Fair.
Well, welcome to the program, by the way. Welcome to another week. Brad's in the hot seat. Jay Lloyd is here. You've been in the media your whole life.
Yeah.
I don't think you put more stock in the preseason than what I don't.
No.
I look at it for what it is, glorified practice.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens haven't lost a preseason game in forever, and we celebrate that. The Browns went 4-0, and they threw a parade.
Sure.
The 1 year. And they didn't win a game in the regular season.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe the Rams went winless in the preseason last year, if I remember correctly.
The only thing, I think the one mistake that I think we watched in real time was Stefanski not playing the core group of his Pro Bowl caliber starters one down. I think that was a mistake. Not necessarily, you're not playing to win these games. You're playing to get ready for the meaningful game.
Right. And I, to your point is exactly taken correctly, because I can't understand for the life of me how you don't put some people out there just to get them going, right? And it's hard to sit back and say, all right, I'm going to hold all my quarterbacks out. I'm going to hold my first teamers out. And I'm looking across the league. People are finding a way to put their guys in just for a bit.
Steelers played their starters the entire first half yesterday.
They did, but the Bengals haven't either. It depends on the coach.
But I sit here and I get the other side of it and say, listen, trying to injury prevention, but I have to get people prepared to play here. Because we're going basically in 2 weeks from 0 to 100 now.
That's exactly right.
0 to 100,
Yeah.
and I'm always worried about it. And I'd say this, I don't look at the preseason games for the results. It's my time to do an analysis on my personnel to see exactly what they have.
And also, you want to develop chemistry.
Right. Well,
it's particularly when you have a new quarterback and a new wide receiver that have never taken meaningful snaps together. We haven't seen Cooper and Brissett one play together.
Listen, every coach has got their own philosophy. I do like the idea of some guys playing at least a tiny bit, but ultimately, I don't know. Has there been a study done to show whether the guys play more or less in the preseason?
No, I doubt it.
And since they've changed the rules,
because you don't know what they're playing against.
Right. That's right.
That's the variable in the experience.
Right. And listen, the preseason has its value to the team. It's just not. There's no value to us in being able to analyze.
What we shouldn't do is look at results and say, "Oh boy, here we go." Now, there were parts of what I saw Saturday that troubled me. That I don't think the back end of our defense should look like they don't know where they are.
I don't even think you get back to the defense. You have a hole in the middle of the line here.
The interior,
that's
the interior
a freaking problem.
But so what I do is, so I think our running backs room and our defensive backs are the cream of our crop. Wouldn't you say?
Fair.
I was stunned at the play of the back of our defense. Now, I know that Ward's not in there, and I know Newsom's not in there, but there are some guys in there that they're going to rely and count on heavily this year. And it was a little head-scratching to me that guys were that wide open.
Well, I think that when you have two lockdown corners in it tightens you up a significant amount. So I can't say I like what I see in the back.
But there was miscommunication. That's what troubled me the most. There were guys that
Greedy Williams looks bad. The way he got sauced up the other day, I was like, wait a minute. Now,
that's not supposed to happen.
That's a basic shakedown that you got shook down.
Are you worried at all about that, Bull?
Zero. I'm not worried about it at all. No, because my two best cornerbacks didn't play.
Sure.
Ultimately, that's it.
But those that did play.
But here's the thing.
Was there anything troubling in there?
I mean, but, some of the – I get it. They did start some of their players, right? Grant Delpit got hurt. He played a little bit before that. John Johnson was out there for a little while. Greedy Williams, you mentioned. No, it doesn't worry me, because when you're preparing for these preseason games, it is just a glorified practice. There's no game plan. There's no prepping for the other team or watching film on the other team. And so that's why I can't read anything into it. I guess, if I see some guy show great speed or a kicker make a kick or whatever, okay, I could read something into that. But ultimately, the third and fourth cornerbacks being asked to do what the first – I mean, it could – if you want to say, well, I'm going to be uncomfortable if my top two cornerbacks get hurt because of what I saw, okay.
And that's a real
I'd be
problem
uncomfortable
with this team,
either way. Yeah. I mean, most teams are going to be uncomfortable if their top two corners get hurt.
Jason, did you see anything that would raise a red flag back there for you?
No, the thing that I kind of watched was Togiai and Winfrey getting zero push in the middle. Zero push.
Yeah, I know.
But when you're looking on the back end, when you're missing Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, and Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, I don't think there's much you can read into it. And I thought Tyvis had a great point last week when he was talking about the play where Josh Rosen beat him over the top for a touchdown, and he was watching. I forget now how the progressions that he went through. He was watching the safety. If one guy went that way, he was supposed to go that way.
Right.
And I think when you're out there with guys who you don't play a lot with, who aren't going to be on the field when the games matter, it can impact the guys who are out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially to the units that work together, the offensive line, the defensive backfield. Let's focus on the interior of the defensive line.
But even that, I mean, yes, we knew going in that the interior defensive line was a concern. They haven't stood out in any way in the preseason. I get it, and it's easy to panic.
I think they stood out in a bad way.
Well,
these guys are going to play.
That's true, but it's going to be a little easier for them when Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney are playing.
It will be, but on running plays.
I think that's bad. I think the defensive interior frees up Clowney and Garrett, right? I don't think Garrett and Clowney, they do, but they don't. You got to get me somebody that has a push, right? There has to be a concern that there's somebody in the middle that has to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing the other way, we're getting pushed back. Told you guys making a tackle downfield. I'm like, where are we at up front here?
Yeah.
We have a problem here that has to be addressed. And I know that if you've been in this business, that you should know that.
To Bull's point,
I mean, their starting tailback averaged 3 yards per carry. It wasn't like he had a good game, David Montgomery.
But to Bull's point, I don't think you can put a lot in the preseason. But I look at guys like Tommy Togiai and Winfrey, guys who have never done anything in the league. It is important to them, and I think they do need to put good plays on tape. And
What
I'm
about
not sure we
Perrion
saw a lot of
Winfrey,
them.
too? I mean, we've seen enough of him. I had so much hope and expectations for him.
He's a good talker.
He's a great talker, but guys, I haven't
People
seen
got
his
carried
game
away because
elevate.
of that. His
Sure,
game hasn't been impressive.
He was what
But we
round
got to
pick was
see
he?
him play in the
He was
regular
later,
season.
fifth,
He was a
sixth,
late
fourth.
pick. I mean, how much could you have expected?
Right. And hopefully he can grow into that role.
Our expectations were ramped up with this
Because
video.
of the talk, yes, no doubt.
We in Cleveland should be immune to that by now.
And by the way, about your boy Cade York, listen, I think he's going to be really good. In all
is really
seriousness,
good. Yeah.
but we got to take it down a notch. I don't care that he's making 70-yard field goals in
I do.
practice. I want him making kicks in the game, and he has missed two kicks.
I'll tell you why
He's
that's
missed 2
important.
kicks.
He's just a 58-yarder and a 55-yarder.
Got to make those. In this division, you got to make those. That's why we drafted him.
I'm with you. Yeah, you're not going to make every kick. Somebody
he's got to make 2/3 of those kicks.
Last week when I was on the show, you had
you
commented he's got to make every kick. He's got to make every kick.
Yes.
So I talked to Jay Feely about that. Like, do you want to make every kick? He said, the kickers are doing things in the preseason too. He said guys used to aim at uprights. Can you imagine? I mean, you're talking about something that's that big.
Yeah.
He said guys used to aim at uprights or try to put it 6 inches inside an upright. And he said one of the things he always did was he tried to shrink the uprights.
Like a golf
He
shot.
would always, exactly.
like
And
a golf
Jay's a
shot.
tremendous golfer.
Like a golf
he would
shot.
always look at it as a fairway. I could be okay if I'm on the edge.
Right.
I want to be in the middle. So guys, a lot of time in the preseason are working on things we don't even know
that's
about.
fine. I'm just saying he's got to make kicks in the regular season. That's all that matters.
He does.
Not that he
here's
hits a
the reason
70-yarder
why
in practice.
Here's why folks get excited about 70 yards, okay?
Yeah.
Most guys can't even think of that.
I've never seen a 70-yard kick.
I haven't seen a 70-yarder
Even
ever.
in warm-ups.
He's going to be really good.
Even in warm-ups.
He's
So
going to
here's
be
the
really
thing.
good.
It's an NFL record for a reason. Now, I don't really care that he made it in practice or whatever. Here's what I care about. He has the leg to get it there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so here's what
It's
that
an
does.
option.
You're late in the game. You're down by 1 or 2. You now don't need to get to the 35-yard line. You need to get to about the 48-yard line.
The one thing I want
To realistically,
Wow.
65
40.
No, but listen,
The one thing I
if
want-
there's
yourself a
1
chance.
second left,
Right.
and you've got
You
a
could at
Hail
least
Mary
try it.
opportunity,
You could
or
at
you
least
got a
try
shot
it.
for a 65-yarder,
Jay-
you've got the kicker that can get the ball there, and you can't make it. It's like a putt. It can't go in if it doesn't get to the hole.
Jay, the thing that I think is going to be very good. I think
Right.
he's shown that, and so I will say I don't care if you're missing a 58-yard or 55-yard. I mean, you're in the game here.
Sure.
Right.
No, I do care. That's all that matters. Make your kicks in the games that matter.
The one thing that we have to
And we
learn-
start judging him in 2 weeks, like
Yes.
everybody else.
The one
Absolutely.
thing that we have to learn here is just simply this, right? He has to get used to kicking down at the lakefront.
You aren't kidding.
You
aren't kidding.
That is the neutralizer.
You could tell on the ball on the 58-yarder
Yes,
that he
you
missed.
could.
You could see the late movement in it, and that's what is always so tricky, and that's what takes kickers sometimes years to figure out. Phil Dawson had the luxury of working there for so long that he learned something every time he kicked there.
Right.
It will definitely be a work in progress. Cade York's going to miss kicks.
This will
He's going to
not
miss
be-
kicks that he should make.
This will not be
all kickers
This
do.
will not be the Bayou. This is not Baton Rouge.
No,
this is not
it's going to
that.
be difficult, particularly late when the winds are swirling and it's colder and the ball doesn't travel as well. I haven't seen anything.
But I like what I see.
Yeah, I agree.
I like what I see.
Let's talk briefly about Jacoby Brissett. We'll come back to him with Joe and with Tim.
The reaction.
But
Jay,
go ahead,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. The reaction was absurd.
I thought it was
on my
overblown, too.
timeline.
Yeah.
We know what Jacoby Brissett is. How do we not get this? Yeah. Jacoby Brissett didn't just join the league last year. We know he's a below-average quarterback.
Right.
He's never been great. He's never going to be great. That doesn't mean he couldn't have a good game or two, but he's been in the league long enough that we know exactly what he is.
I think the reason
he's an offensive manager.
But now the franchise is on his shoulders now.
I would-
Like it or not,
so I-
they've
the
got
next
to
11
carry
games,
him.
he's
He
pulling
can't
the
carry
wagon.
them.
Well, the quarterback pulls the wagon. It doesn't go the other way around.
I do not agree that. First of all, I agree with you that we know what he is.
Yes.
I will not agree that he's a below-average quarterback. He's just a manager of this, right? And here,
Do you have him
is below average.
Yeah, do you have him as top 16 in the NFL?
I don't need him to be in the top 6.
No, he's not, though. He is a below. Bull's right.
I need him to manage the game.
You do.
I've got horses here.
Yes.
What I saw was he got the ball out of his hand. He wasn't sitting here trying to make crazy plays like Mayfield, right?
Yeah.
I got these horses. I'm depending on the horses behind me now. And can he get the ball out? Did he find Bell across the top? Was he threading the needle in here? Was he afraid?
Well, most of them were very short, quick passes.
But he was not afraid.
No. No, well, I wouldn't expect him to be. He's got his.
Yeah.
This isn't his first.
By the
rodeo.
way, as much as everybody wants to crap on Anthony Schwartz, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
That long pass Brissett threw to him, that was almost an impossible play to make.
Yeah.
I can't blame him for that one. That was ridiculous.
I don't think there are other things to blame him for.
Sure,
we will
plenty,
come back to Anthony Schwartz.
but-
There's a lot on that bone.
Yes.
And we'll chew on that later.
I
but
saw a quarterback who failed to elude the rush, who's not fast enough to elude.
that was my
pressure.
concern. I was like, wow, he's slow-footed.
I saw an offense that looked awful lot like last year. It took him a minute and a half to go 30 yards. I'm like, I've seen this before. You can't do that in the NFL. They had three, and I think it did end in points. And they had 3.5 minutes, and it took them a minute and a half to go 30 yards. And I'm like,
Well, you tell me that after you put Chubb and Hunt in the backfield.
I mean,
Well, in that situation, I don't know how much you're going to use those guys. If you're
but
looking
I'm
to
saying,
throw the ball downfield.
My game plan is differently deployed when I have them behind me.
but there are points in games when you have to go, and you need you need chunk plays in a short amount of time.
Question. There's
and
no
I
question.
don't see it in this offense.
And so I'm glad you brought that up because that was something I wanted to drill down on today because as I was watching, I know that a lot of coaches, they go out there with 6 or 7 plays. They're not showing everything.
Right.
But I got to tell you, I had your thought exactly. My thought was, is it 2021 again? Because just the play calling, the lack of any real urgency, it was a little bit troubling. I'm going to give points for the fact that it was the preseason, but what better time to work on that? This is your last chance.
Right.
It's your last dress rehearsal. And I was glad that they were in that situation because I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's see what we got now because he's going to be in this spot. And it just felt like last year.
Stefanski becoming a cliche. I mean, he got these quote statements. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to show anything. Everything is bland. I like, show me something. Give me something.
They were without all their stars. I mean, by the time they had that 2-minute drill, they were down. They didn't start 2 of their starting offensive linemen, and then what's his name got hurt. Wyatt
They were down
Teller,
21-0 at that point.
You didn't have your 2 top backs, and you didn't play with Amari Cooper. Now we can criticize them for doing that, but that's still the fact. We knew Jacoby Brissett's never been fleet of foot. I mean,
if you were an NFL head coach, because there's varying philosophies. And it was interesting as I was watching the Steelers yesterday and I saw T.J. Watt limp off the field. I'm like, whoa, Stefanski looks like a genius.
Got hurt.
Deontay Johnson got hurt.
I saw that too.
But you know what? The folks that I was watching with made a great point. If you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. Doesn't matter if it's the preseason or the regular season. You can't put these guys in glass cases. And fortunately for the Steelers, T.J. Watt's injury doesn't appear to be serious, nor does Johnson's. But if you're an NFL head coach, are you more Tomlin or are you more Stefanski?
I don't think it matters which camp you're in. Andy Reid's had a ton of success playing guys.
Sure.
And Sean McVay didn't play anyone. The point that I would make is Kevin Stefanski had these guys ready to go week 1 last year at Kansas City, doing it his way. Now, his first game at Baltimore was a disaster 2 years ago. That was a complete meltdown. It was his first game as a head coach, coming off COVID and everything else. Okay, whatever.
Let me interrupt you quickly. The only difference being this year is that we haven't seen these guys play together.
It's a
new
new
quarterback, new lead wide receiver,
Right.
and the core of wide receivers. That's completely different.
Don't even get me going on that because if it was anything that was apparent on Saturday, they are wide receivers short.
Yeah,
yes,
more
they
than
are.
one, I think.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
you can go back and get all these other dudes, these dudes you found on the street for anywhere. We need another receiver here in a major way.
But it's not like Jacoby Brissett and these receivers have had no reps together. We just haven't seen them.
No, they played.
They've had
in practice. They've had
practice reps.
The only thing is when you're going. I know they had the Eagles with the joint practices, but for the most part, when you're going against your own defense, they know the tendencies.
Yeah.
They know where the throw is coming. They know all of that stuff. It is so different when you're going up against a defense that's hostile, that wants to get you, that wants to hurt you, that wants to bring you to the ground. So, I don't know. I think I'm somewhere in the middle between Stefanski and
Amari
Tomlin.
Cooper and Jacoby Brissett are veterans. They've been in the league a while.
Yeah.
If they were young players, I'd be leaning more towards playing them.
Bull, do you put any weight in this the chemistry? You always hear about guys say, star quarterback and star receiver worked out 12 different times in the offseason. That's why their timing is impeccable.
Yeah.
But
they are doing all that, right?
No, they are, but I'm talking about in the offseason. You'll hear quarterback and wide receivers get together and just work. And not like for a weekend in the Bahamas, because there's a lot of other things that go on that take your focus away from football. I'm talking about if they live near each other, or even if they don't, they get together 4 or 5 times during the offseason, 2 or 3 times during that week, and they just work, running routes, getting to know the speed of the football, the angle of the football, everything.
You get to know your personnel, not just know your personnel. You're in sync with them, right? So so that way, I know when to cover you. I know what your tendencies are.
Brad, you in basketball, you oftentimes, if you were traded, you fall into a new offense. What is that like? And I know that a lot of basketball is freelance, and you're going off reactions and everything else. But am I making more of this idea of chemistry is built through reps?
Yeah.
Or can you be traded in a basketball world, step on the floor, and just sort of get the feel right away?
No, I think that basketball is basketball. The game is the game, but it is me learning you. Like there's something in sync with you that I'm going to learn that may be different from where I just came from.
Right.
And so until I get that, then I know what I can expect from you, what you can expect from me, and then there's a reaction that just takes place. It's organic. Like I know what I need to do. You're gonna gamble on defense, right? And when you get by, I'm gonna clean it up on the backside. Right.
And there's some of that in football too.
Sure.
Especially when the pocket breaks down. This is where I think it's invaluable to get reps in the preseason. When the pocket breaks down and now everybody's playing scramble football.
Right.
Where's my guy like to go? Does he like to come back to the line of scrimmage?
Right.
Does he like to go into the middle of the field?
Well, that was something. I mean, you think about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase last year, right? They had played together in college,
and it showed.
And they had that feel for each other there. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I got to say though, I'm not. You guys, I feel like everybody here has been so panicked about the Browns wide receiving room. And maybe a month into the season, you will be vindicated and you will be right.
Right.
I'm not saying I think it's awesome and that I'm completely comfortable with it. I'm saying we've got to see more. Like, Anthony Schwartz aside, like Amari Cooper, while not an elite one, is a good solid number 1 wide receiver, right? He's a good player. David Bell is a rookie. He's barely played.
I do
right?
like what I've seen of David Bell.
If he ends up being a good wide receiver, I'm not even saying a number 1, just a good wide receiver.
Sure.
Which rookie wide receivers are more often, these days making an impact right away.
They are.
Then I think they're fine. I think the concern is, do they have a number 2 wide receiver? I think their hope is David Bell will be it. We don't know yet. Now, again, a couple weeks in, we might look at David Bell. He's doing nothing. We're like, my God.
This is what
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is a 3 is completely fine.
You know what? I think that Njoku's going to be the 2. I really do.
I'm concerned about this. There's nobody to stretch the field here, right?
It's supposed to be short.
Well, here, let me just say that. Bell and Amari Cooper are possession guys. They run great routes. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
You can see that. There's nobody to stretch the freaking field here, right? And we keep throwing to a dude who can't catch.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
And somebody pointed out to me either last week or 2 weeks ago after we did a show, they said, the reason that a guy that can take the lid off a defense is so critical for this offense is because we know they're going to run the ball. Mm-hmm. We know that. So you want to pull safeties deep down the field. And if the guy that you have to do that isn't a major threat, then they're going to load up on the run, and they're going to 8 in the box and stop what we do best.
No doubt there's truth to that. In the end, I think the teams that can run it great, that doesn't matter. I mean, Baltimore has no ability to throw the ball deep down the field. They run it well, and the Browns have done the same thing. I mean, the Browns didn't really have that deep threat.
The Ravens have had that guy, though. I mean, they don't now. But
because of Marquise Brown?
Well, he's better than any option we have right now.
But the Browns didn't have that option last year. I mean, unless you want to say it's Odell, but obviously it never played much of a role.
It didn't.
They didn't play a role because they didn't go to him.
Jacoby Brissett doesn't really have the ability to be throwing downfield, like deep downfield on a regular basis.
It didn't look like it.
I mean, he's just not that type of player.
Yeah.
And by the way, as much as everybody loves Jimmy Garoppolo, he ain't that type of player either. He ain't throwing deep down the field
Let's
either.
do this, guys. We're going to talk about the Carolina game for the next 10 shows. Yeah. We're going to talk about it a lot, so get used to it. But preliminarily, we now know who we are and what we have. And I've only seen 3/4 of the Panthers, so I'm not going to make a strong opinion on that one way or other. I've read the game stories, I've looked at the stats. I don't know what they are. I don't know that anybody does. Is your level, where are you on a confidence level? 10 is we're going to go in there and whip their tails. 1 is we're coming home with an L. Where are you right now?
I'm at 7. I'm confident, but listen, the game's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. The Panthers are a 1.5 favorite at home, which means the Vegas thinks the Browns are a slightly better team.
Right.
Right? So I think if Watson was playing, I'd love the Browns to win easy. On Twitter this weekend, when everybody was going bananas about Brissett, I said, calling my shot now. Browns win. Baker throws more picks than Brissett.
Wow, you're already calling it then.
So, yeah, I think the Browns are going to win. I think it's going to be a close game. Ultimately, whichever team is losing in the fourth quarter is probably going to lose because I don't trust either of these quarterbacks to make a big drive to win a game. But for all this talk about Baker having a chip on his shoulder for this game, which he will, sometimes that works against Baker when he gets too amped up. And number 2, I think there's going to be plenty of guys in the Browns defense that want to give him an ass whooping in this game as well. Not because they hate him or whatever, just because he used to be their guy.
They want to win.
Yeah.
1 to 10 for you, confidence.
So I've got a 8 confidence the Browns are going to win.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
I'd say it's going to be a close game, but I tell you, this is not about who did what in preseason, who did what, who here. This is going to be run in the rectangular box.
Sure.
Who wants it the most?
Yep.
And unlike, and I'll go back to when LeBron came back to Cleveland the first game with Miami, right, where I don't think the Cavaliers were ready to play. It's going to be a problem if you're not ready to play here because we've had enough leeway time to be ready to play.
Yeah, you better be ready.
And I will tell you what, here, if we don't win this game in game one, the Avalanche is coming behind us, right? Because you want to start off on a good note. You don't want to go into this because this is going to open up a whole other door to say if Baker Mayfield comes in and has his way against the Cleveland Browns on that day.
And they get a chance to get that 118-1 monkey off their back. I know that the players will tell you, we don't think about that. That's in the past. You don't think they want to break that streak? They want to be the team that, that gets over that hump? 1 to 10 for you?
I'm nowhere near as high as these guys are.
I'm not either.
I would call it like a 3 or a 4.
Oh, that low?
Yes.
Okay.
You just said it 118. I think it's worse than that, isn't it, in openers?
Well, I think they're 118-1 in their last 20.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I don't know. That's such a horrible
that
stat.
tells me
McNuggets,
right
if you
there.
can find that, let me know.
You
I thought they
stats.
were 118-1.
Since they returned, they've won 1 opener.
Then
right?
that number's got to be worse because they came back in '99.
They've won 1 opener since they returned.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think. I thought I saw 118-1 recently.
Doesn't matter.
But that would only be 20 games.
And obviously, this team is far more talented than
They're
a lot of the teams that they've
119-1
had.
for the record.
Okay,
119-1.
119-1.
60 minutes of football, it doesn't matter.
Well, you could say it doesn't matter, but I got 20 years to prove that it does matter.
Yeah.
And this team is far more talented, obviously, than a lot of the teams that have been here in the past.
And this is one of those games that is winnable, even though it's a road game.
And listen, I've been as hard on Baker as anybody in town. Bull and I both have just crushed this guy.
Killed him.
He's not good enough. He only has to be good for 1 game.
And we know he can do that.
He's had 2 months to work on this 1 game. And to Bull's point, yes, we saw it in the Packers game where he got too amped up and he throws 4 picks.
Yeah.
But I think the Browns are walking into a trap.
How much do you think it will help Baker that he knows this defense so well?
I think it helps a lot.
I do too.
I guess I look at it.
But they know him well.
I look at it from a different. I look at it from a player perspective. I don't care about nothing you're talking about here. It's me and you. I see you on Saturday. That's when I'll see you.
Okay.
I don't care about what happened in the past. Don't tell me about what happened in 1962. I don't care nothing about that. I got 60 minutes, and you mine today. That's it. You mine today.
It's on the road.
Hey, I've been here. I walked into a venue, Jay, that the Cavaliers are taking the Bulls out in the regular season 6-0. Chicago Tribune, when I got on the plane, was like, Bulls losing the playoff game here. This is going to be a quick series. They had never, took them 20 years to recover after we got done with them. Because if I listen to what history said and what the stats said, I've been going home that day.
I agree. Like when you walk on the field, you're not carrying the history.
I don't care nothing about that.
But it is in the mind.
And in my mind.
It
wasn't in my mind.
Well, then you're superhuman.
It wasn't my mind.
Then you're superhuman.
Yeah, but
there will be some players that, all the players know about this.
The 11 other guys I was with, it was just not in their mind. We coming here to get you.
And in your case, it was recent history. If they were 6-0 in the regular season, That's not ancient history. That does apply because it's same players on both teams. Like, these are different players. Every year when you break camp, you have a different
I'm counting
roster.
on Myles Garrett to be ready to go, Clowney ready to go, Denzel ready to go, because this should mean.
Well, they haven't played a snap, so they should be ready to go.
It should
be fresh.
It should mean something to you.
It should,
It
absolutely.
mean something to you.
I will just tell you, there is a lot of pressure in that building to win this game. There is a lot of pressure.
There's a lot of pressure.
That's the best thing.
No, this is different.
No,
Yeah, it is
this
different
is
because
There's
the
a lot of pressure on
organization-
Baker, too.
There is.
Yeah, there is.
I
But
think you're going to say there's a lot of pressure
I
everywhere.
like
There's
that
a
you
ton of
said
pressure
in
to win
that
this
building
game.
because it's the organization that made this decision.
Yes.
They took the chess piece in their hand and they made the bold move.
the game.
Right, but-
So now, risk reward. If it works, and obviously when they made the move, they didn't know they'd have Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback, but pressure does funny things.
Yes, it does.
It bursts pipes and it makes diamonds.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. Well, I think we'll have a good idea of the makeup of this team. My dream scenario is they go in there and they win 35-0 and they come out and they're like, who's next?
The worst scenario.
The worst scenario is they get it handed to them, and now all of a sudden those next 3 games that look like win-win-win or win-loss-win,
So-
now all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh.
So let me.
The eyes are going to get
But here's
bigger.
what's funny, guys, real quick, Brett. Here's what's funny is that in reality, this one game doesn't vindicate or not vindicate
Of
this
course.
trade. It's
No.
so stupid.
Of course.
But we will all react as if it does.
It does. It
Can I just-
does matter.
Can
I mean, it's not like it doesn't mean
does.
anything.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Can I just remind you, was anybody there the day Miami came in here with LeBron that day? Do you remember the venue?
I watched it. I
Moondog
wasn't
was
here.
in
I
a
was living
bulletproof vest.
I mean, this
remember it
thing,
all.
This thing was at the fan base was at a frenzy level.
I remember
It was
it
ready
all.
to go.
Yep.
The only ones that wasn't ready to go was the 12 dudes on the sideline.
They sucked. They were not a good
Yeah, it was
team.
a bad team.
And everybody left that venue mad as hell because they wasn't ready to go, because they wasn't ready to meet the moment. Now, my
Well, they
thing is-
weren't a good team
No,
either.
Yeah,
no,
but
I don't care
Brad-
if you were good. You got to be ready to meet the moment.
It
You're a
was David and Goliath.
I don't care about that. You're a professional player.
He doesn't
Are
care
you ready
about that.
to meet the
Let's
moment?
go.
Right?
Okay,
That's the
before
problem.
McNuggets, before we do the ad reads, I'll just quickly say I thought I was going to be low confidence man.
Oh, yeah.
I have a 6, but an arrow down. It was an 8, even when I thought it was going to be Brissett. And then I saw things in Carolina, and I saw things in Cleveland, and now it's going down, and now it's a 6, and the arrow's still going down. I can't let myself imagine what happens if they lose. I can't.
A worst case scenario, worse
Browns-
than a blowout to
Yeah.
me, a worst case scenario
used to
is
bring
Baker to
it
take him down the field.
Game-winning drive. Yeah, that would.
No, that can't happen.
The one thing he couldn't do here.
They're out
If
of
he
here.
does it there, that would be
By
a
the
worst
way,
case scenario.
Against the defense that we feel pretty good about.
The Browns, if they're going to keep the season alive and give Watson a chance to make the playoffs, they've got to go at least 3-1 in these first 4 games.
I agree with that 100%
I
because
think
this
they're
is
2
where
and 2
you
after
this is
4.
where you collect wins.
If they're
I know.
2-2 or worse,
They're
forget
done.
it.
I agree with you 100%
What-
because
what-
the back end of that 11 games
Forget
is
it.
What happened-
impossible.
Yes.
So where is the team's confidence if they come in and take care of business in Carolina? It should be up here.
Of course
should
it will.
be.
Should be up
Of course it will. But to
Yeah.
Bull's point, you can't exhale and be like, "Whew, we made it." You still have to go 3-1 in those first 4,
Yeah.
and you can't take your foot off the gas.
No.
You
No,
can't.
they've got, I mean, I almost feel like they got to go 4-0 if they're going to have a chance to make the playoffs.
4-0, I'd be
Well, that
feeling
ain't
really
happening.
good.
Mikey, what you got?
I agree with you. That's not happening.
Can I add one scenario to the worst case scenario
Oh,
for the
Lord.
Browns?
Well,
Baker?
yeah.
Is Baker escaping a Myles Garrett sack on a 4th and 20, like Eli Manning did in
Yeah.
the Super Bowl, rolling out, completing a pass,
And
leading
throwing
down the
and
drive?
throwing the game-winning touchdown pass
This-
on that play.
The storylines from that would be almost as delicious as the Built Bar I had this
Man,
morning.
stop
which I'm
thinking about
telling
that
you
crazy nonsense.
Was some of the best breakfast I've ever had. I had the cookie dough chunk puffs, and I learned something about it. I actually got them this weekend. I got the nice shipment in. And I learned that not only are these Built Bars delicious,
Didn't bring any for us.
they're super healthy. Or healthy enough. 15 grams of protein, 160 calories, and they have, as the package says, synthetic proteins which dissolve faster and better for you. So yeah, if you're not eating Built Bars, you're missing out. And the best part,
We'd
you
like to be eating Built Bars.
You didn't bring any
You
for
got
us.
the nice
shipment,
package
got the
in
nice
this weekend.
shipment.
Listen, I only got 2, so when I get more,
that's
the
the
full
shipment.
shipment will bring
And you
it
ate
in.
both.
I had one. I'm gonna have one tomorrow or on Wednesday when it's the next Built Bar read day.
Okay.
But you get 15% off
I don't know.
if you go to built.com and use promo code LOCKDOWN15. Before we bring in Tim, because Tim's ready, we have to do what the internet is saying because we asked the internet how they reacted to Jacoby Brissett's first preseason performance, and we got quite some good answers.
Okay.
But as always, let's tell you about PCC Airfoils. Tim, we're getting you 1 sec. Don't worry. Are you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, get full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
All right, no song today. We got to get to Tim. Let's go. Stop messing
All
around.
right, so let's punch the tag board full here, Mike. Mike's first tag board, nailed it. We asked the internet, in only one sentence, how would you describe your confidence level in Jacoby Brissett as the Browns' starting quarterback? And Anthony, let's take the next one here. This is from Mark Moster.
Oh, Jesus.
About as much as I trust to fart after eating Taco Bell.
That is a risky thing. It is risky to fart after eating Taco Bell. There's no doubt.
Tim Couch is laughing as well.
I was going to say, I like it when you ask in a meme.
Yeah.
Because those are hilarious.
funny.
But that's great.
That's funny.
I'm
That's
trying to mix
funny.
it up. We're doing 3 words or less, 5 words or less.
Okay.
Sentence. Get
That's
some
funny.
variation.
No, I like that.
All right, let's get to the next one, Anthony. This was a more serious one. I think he'll be fine, but last night he proved he should have played in all 3 games,
That's
which
wrong.
we all referenced. And then last one before we get to Tim here. Dude's a meatloaf. I don't know what it means, but it made me laugh. So I decided it deserved to
D-O-O-D
be
is
in the,
meatloaf.
what the internet is saying.
He needs a spelling
Yeah.
lesson.
Hey, no, it's the cool way to spell dude these
All
days.
right.
I've seen others do that online.
Wow.
All right, let's bring in